This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices were little changed on Tuesday as investors focused on geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and optimism the U.S. Federal Reserve would soon start cutting interest rates, lifting global economic growth and fuel demand. Brent crude futures fell 26 cents, or 0.3%, to $79.13 a barrel by 0115 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $73.59 a barrel, up 3 cents. Both benchmarks notched gains of about 3% last week after Houthi attacks on ships disrupted global shipping and trade, adding to tensions in the Middle East as the Israel-Gaza conflict waged on.
Angola's decision to leave the OPEC could open the way for Beijing to increase investment in the country's oil and other sectors, as part of a deepening of decades-old ties. Angola said on Thursday it was leaving OPEC, effective from January 1st, following a row with the producer group over the size of its output quota. The decision also follows an agreement signed between China and Angola this month on enhanced cooperation. Angola, for which oil constitutes 90% of exports, is seeking to diversify its economy, but it also needs revenue.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Foreign shareholders suspended participation in the Arctic LNG 2 project due to sanctions, renouncing their responsibilities for financing and for off-take contracts for the new Russian liquefied natural gas (LNG) plant, the Daily Kommersant reported on Monday. The project, seen as a key element in Russia's drive to boost its LNG global market share to 20% by 2030 from 8%, was already facing difficulties due to U.S. sanctions over the conflict in Ukraine and a lack of gas carriers. China's state oil majors CNOOC Limited and China National Petroleum Corp. CNPC each have a 10% stake in the project, which is controlled by Novatek, Russia's largest LNG producer and owner of a 60% stake in the project.
Some of the world's largest shipping firms, including Maersk and CMA-CGM, will impose extra charges after they rerouted ships in response to attacks on vessels in the Red Sea, as worries about disruption to global trade grow. The surcharges, designed to cover longer voyages around Africa compared with routes via the Suez Canal, will add to rising costs for sea transport since Yemen's Houthi militant group started targeting vessels. Maersk and CMA-CGM were the first to introduce the fees, followed by Germany's Hapag-Lloyd later on Friday. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Chinese alumina futures surged to record highs and traded at their upper limits on Friday as an explosion in major bauxite supplier Guinea sparked fears of a shortage of the feed material for alumina, traders and analysts said. The February alumina contract on the Shanghai Futures Exchange leapt 7% to a record 3,184 yuan, $446.93, per metric ton, and the March contract also surged 7% to 3,196 yuan, a historic high. The April and May contracts jumped 7% as well, and the January and June contracts climbed more than 6%.
Iron ore futures rose on Tuesday, buoyed by expectations of economic stimulus measures to shore up the Chinese economy and anticipated robust demand. The most traded May iron ore on China's Dalian commodity exchange rose 0.9% after a brief dip in the previous session, to 979 yuan and 50 fen, $137.12 per metric ton as of 0300 GMT. On the Singapore exchange, the benchmark January iron ore was up 0.5% at $138.07 a metric ton, rallying for the third consecutive session.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Russia's grain harvest in 2023 will amount to 142.6 million metric tons in net weight, down 9.5% from the record harvest of 2022 but still its second largest, according to state statistics published on Monday. The harvest of winter and spring wheat totaled 92.77 million tons in net weight, down from 104.23 million tons in 2022, according to data from the Federal Statistics Service. The total crop for 2022 amounted to 157.61 million tons. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.